I mean, that's not these things are not the only things that show that there's a bunch of fuckery coming. Like, we have to do things like this. We have to vote on whether or not food is a basic human right and whether or not you can have access to growing your own food and seeds and stuff. Because corporations are like trying to genetically modify things, control the seeds, and then say that you have to buy them from them every single season. We are not free. We're living in a corporate dystopian future where they're trying to bring in neo-feudalism and make you all fucking serfs again. But let's get into this fucking article. Voters will decide if Mainers have a constitutional right to food, and this is how winning is done right here. This bill has to pass. The legislature approved by the proposal of two-thirds margin, but some critics worry that amending the language in the Maine Constitution would have unintended consequences. Maine voters in November will be the first in the nation to consider embedding in the state constitution an amendment that establishes a fundamental right to grow and consume food for their own nourishment. Yeah, that how is that going to have unintended consequences? You have a right to grow your own food and eat your own food.
That's how winning is done.
You don't have to eat the bugs and live in a pod. You don't have to fucking consume fucking Bill Gates' fucking meat money because he's buying up all the fucking farms. The proposal, which will be on the November 2nd ballot, is the result of nearly decade-long effort that represents an evolution of the moment that produced the Maine Food Sovereignty Act. The landmark law authorizes cities and towns to adopt local food ordinances, and more than 90 have done so. This will allow them so you can have chickens again. This will allow your city to do what you need to do for yourselves, for your own community.
That's how winning is done.
Because that's how fucking winning is done. It really is. If you can't get your food and stuff within 200 miles of where you live, you're dependent on somebody else.
Winning? No.
You have to have the right to food because food is life. Said Senator Sosenwater, to threat up an organic farmer who has long championed the cause. This is a foundation we are putting into the Constitution. Yes, we have a right to legal organic food. Right. It shouldn't be more. We shouldn't be making the shittier food less expensive and the organic food more expensive. It should be the other way around. But while the idea of guaranteeing a fundamental right to food may seem benign or even unassailable, the proposal has met resistance. Critics say the amendment, while well-intentioned, could have unintended consequences for food safety, animal welfare, or other areas as judges interpret the amendment in future courts. Howard, I don't see that. Hickman said he expects an onslaught of misinformation ahead of the vote, likely from opponents backed by multinational agriculture companies and factory farm industries. Yeah, so it's like you're going to say it says that, but there's no information about why.
Winning? No.
Do a favor of the ballot question will ask, do you favor amending the Constitution of Maine to declare that all individuals have a natural, inherent, and unalienable right to grow, raise, harvest, produce, and consume the food of their own choosing for their own nourishment, sustenance, bodily health, and well-being? That is fucking beautiful. That needs to be in the actual Constitution of these United States of America. If passed, Maine would be in the first state to adopt a constitutional amendment enshrining a right to food. West Virginia and Washington are also considering right to food amendments for their state constitutions. That's how winning is done. Grassroots at the local level. The language, if your local level votes into you don't listen to the fucking big daddy government, then the big daddy government doesn't matter until they put troops on your ground. But when they put troops on your ground, you should be shooting them anyway. I'm not telling you go shoot people. You got to follow your local laws and ordinances. You know how you can safely defend yourself against fuckery in your own areas. Legally defend yourself against fuckery. If passed, Maine would be the first state to adopt constitutional amendment enshrining the right. The language will be added. The Maine Constitution would read: all individuals have a natural, inherent, unalienable right to food, including the right to save and exchange seeds, and the right to grow, raise, harvest, produce, and consume the food of their choosing for their own nourishment, sustenance, bodily health, and well-being. As long as an individual does not commit trespassing, theft, poaching, or other abuses of private property rights, public lands, and natural resources in harvesting, production, and acquisition of food. So that the writing there eliminates all of those things that you said were sticky areas.
Winning? No.
It addresses that.
Winning? No. You suck!
I don't understand why you're being so fucking. The bill calling for the new constitutional amendment, ID 95, was approved by a two-thirds majority in both the Senate and House and Senate. Constitutional amendments do not require the approval of the governor and go directly to the ballot for consideration by voters. Winning! Bypassing that shitty governor have there. One of the bill's strongest supporters is Rep. Billy Bob Falkenham, a Republican, Winter Harbor, in written testimony in support of amendment. He said that the right to food as growing a garden or raising livestock may not be in the question today, but the situation could change. Jumping ahead 25 or 50 years into the future could see that our government creating roadblocks and restrictions to the people's right to food. Falkenham wrote, will the governor be telling people that they are allowed to eat and where they can grow it? Falkenham, a lobster man, also voiced concerns about the influence of food policy for multinational food producers or industrial agriculture. And he pushes back against those who say food safety will suffer if the amendment is approved. That's not fucking stupid. They're going, I mean, it's fucking a beautiful amendment. They're going to say that the sky is falling, Falkenham said, but it hasn't yet, and it's probably not going to. He pointed out that Mainers for generations have, even before statehood, have bartered for and bought and sold food products from one another in their local communities. And he said that there have been no reports of foodborne illnesses since Maine starting, allowing cities and towns to govern the exchange of food locally. Heather Ruttingberg, a farmer from Penobscot and a leader in the food sovereignty movement, has been a longtime proponent of the right to food amendment. She testifies in favor of a proposal in a February public hearing. Ruttenberg said that the COVID-19 pandemic highlighted vulnerabilities in the food supply chain when early in the pandemic, store shelves were barren as people stockpiled food and other supplies. Maine people can increase resilience to external shocks in the system beyond our control by growing, producing much more of their own food, and this is fucking winning. By securing the right to grow and raise food in our Constitution, it will protect in the most fundamental form of law. This is how fucking winning is done. I'm gonna send an email to my governor and my representatives, and we're gonna try and put this on the ballot here in New Hampshire because this is how fucking winning is done. They're trying to control your speech. They're trying to control your water. They're trying to control access to your food. They're trying to control everything you need to live. Because once they control everything you need to survive, they control you.
Winning? No.
There's no way of fucking avoiding it at that point. I'm just fucking saying.